Hi guys, and welcome back to Boston Heights episode number 2. Yeah, as I've said in the last episode, we are in a park which is being prepared for the PAX 2017. As always, I'm not going to talk about all the stuff again, but you can find every information about the PAX live streams and the PAX event in general regarding Planet Coaster in the description below. But as far as the information in general goes about the park, you might want to watch the first episode if you haven't already. There I'm going to explain everything else, but in this episode I'm pretty much going to explain a little bit more what I've been doing actually in the video, because the last video was more of a little bit of an information and a teasing for you guys, and this episode will be a little bit more about an explanation about what I've been doing. So first of all, in the last episode you've seen that I've also built this inverted coaster, which is really much inspired by a classical B&M inverted coaster. I tried to put in as many classical parts of it as I can, but in general it was also kind of a challenge to get in with the known layout, which is sitting upon this little hill and which will function as the central point of the park. So when you're going to join the park and you're hitting the entrance and leaving the entrance building, you're just watching the PAX logo, which you will see being created in, I guess, this episode or maybe in the third episode, I'm not too sure about, but you will see the logo, and straight after the logo behind it you will see this coaster, which is sitting upon this little hill, so it's slightly raised up, so this is functioning as the central point of the park, which you can see from all points of the park. I'm pretty sure you all know the word for it. I will mention it just quickly. It's basically the weenie of this park, so full stop. And it's also made in a very classical style, and really this kind of It's like really in the 18th century style buildings you can see all over America, which is really like, yeah, it's also close to a Main Street-ish building, but also with a lot of dark red bricks and these white columns and white elements to it, which is really much all over America, but also in Boston you can see a lot of those classical buildings, and I really tried to match this kind of style. To be honest, it was also a kind of a struggle to get all these building parts together, because I just made this before a little bit better than this attempt, and I also streamed this to Twitch. So if you want to check out the first build of this, you can see it on Twitch. You can also see some POVs already there of this coaster. I changed the coaster just slightly, but you can see some POVs over there. But, and that's maybe something I have to mention, I forgot to save the park after my Twitch recording, so 2.5 hours were just simply gone, and I had to kind of just regain a little bit of time, so I had to rebuild the whole building. Of course, I already had some blueprints because I just could watch my Twitch stream as well and see how I did it, but you know, as I tried to do it as fast as possible, I also come up with some major issues regarding the placement of the build, and I had to fake a little bit around. So in the end, the building kind of looks good. It's finished. It's yeah, in the style I wanted it to be, but it is not, and I really have to admit that, but I guess it's not that big of a problem, but it's not as clean as it could be. So if you are just downloading the park after the PAX event, it will be in the workshop as well. You can play yourself and fill in the gaps I left for the streamers by yourself. So this might be also a cool challenge to see what you can come up with. But in the end, the building looks good, but if you do look closely to it, there are some corners of the buildings which are not that well done. I just kind of have hidden some things by just placing walls in front of them. Anyway, that's just a major issue I come up with. I think you won't think that's too bad, but you know, it's just, I'm always looking for the perfect result with my builds, and it was kind of a trade-off in this episode to build the building as I've done already before in my Twitch recording, and wanted to make it as good as possible. But there's also some positive thing in it, because I wasn't happy with the tower which I've built in the recording before, and this tower is much more the one I wanted to have, with some some little roof part on top of it where it might be a clock tower, or it might be some little watchtower where people in the recent centuries could just climb on and then watch the area around if everything is fine. So this was kind of the idea of this tower. And of course, this is kind of the second major drop of the coaster, where the coaster is briefly held up and just stopped for a second until it is being released into the big loop. So this is also a really important part of the coaster itself, where the excitement and the tension is raised up again. So this is also why I wanted to have this kind of special building in this place, to have kind of, yeah, just a little bit of scenery around this important part of the coaster. And as you can also see, I just came up with some little holes in the terrain over here, which are basically there just to have those little concrete looking water holes, I don't know, but it's also a really common thing you can always see with inverted coasters, that there are some parts of the coaster where the terrain is actually lower than the normal level of the park, and the coaster goes a little bit deeper than it usually would. And in this space, there's very often is kind of a little concrete tunnel kind of thing, which is just a half tube filled in with water and stuff like this. I actually wanted to do also some triggers down there with some water effects, but I didn't do it, not because I had no time or so, but it was also to make sure that the performance of the park is cool. And by time going on and the park is going to be filled, the performance already started to get worse, and I wanted to make sure that the park is really enjoyable in the end. And so I had to just leave out the VFX as much as possible. So there is not too much VFX going on, or VFX, sorry for the pronunciation, going on in the park. But in the end, it's I think for the sake of having a better performance, it's not too bad not to have this kind of little things there. It's always like, if the details are in, you would notice them and you would appreciate them, but if you don't see them, you don't know that they are missing, and basically that's it. So maybe something to mention as well is this very first element. I've been struggling with it quite a while, and now it's already gone because I just finished it off screen. I'm always messing up with the word off screen. I don't know why. Anyway, but I just tried to get in an element which is a really cool kind of 0G roll, and then turned into a half loop, which was really hard to create. And the element I have in the end is kind of nice, I guess, but it's not the best thing you might see out there. It's really smooth, it's working pretty well, but the direction of the loop is kind of uncommon, because you first of all go to the left while joining then the turn onto the right, which is it's possible, and you will see those elements quite often in real life, but not after the first drop, which is turned to the right. So you would expect there to have a 0G roll starting to roll on the right and not on the left. But anyway, this just kind of something I was struggling a lot with. So now we are coming to one of the major parts of the entire build, and this is the logo of the PAX East. I know that some of you will already see that this is the old logo. So this is, well, I just in the first glance we were asked to put in the logo, and it was really obvious to go with the logo you might already see when you're googling it. But anyway, I think 1 or 2 years ago they changed the logo to a more modern one. And since I've already explained in the last episode, Sylv is going for a more modern approach, while I'm going for a more classical approach. And so I thought it might be cool to go with the old logo, and he's going with the new logo. So this is also kind of a differentiation between those parks, to see an old style and a new style, and also like the transformation of the parks. So seeing the old logo and getting in with the new logo in the other park, which isn't something to judge the parks in general. They are both equal and kind of things like that. But as I said, it's really cool because you can tell a little story with that. So classical, it's also the old logo, which is a more classical logo, and then a more modern approach and a more modern logo, which also shows how the game is capable of also creating logos into completely different styles. So that's also something cool, a cool side note I thought I needed to mention. because otherwise people would go crazy and tell me that this is the old logo. I know about that, but you know, I think it's a cool thing to tell that we are going with an old style park and an old style logo, which is not old style, it's the old logo, but anyway, you get it, what I want to say. Anyway, now you can see I also used a second blueprint of my older blueprints. This is the blueprint from my London Let's Play. It's a little seaside restaurant, which is kind of lakeside now, but it's it's always lakeside. It's no seaside restaurant anyway, which I thought would be cool to use over here as well, because it's it's a more modern style one, but you know, it's not forbidden to get in with some modern kind of details as well as the old historical builds. It's just kind of a mixture to get in a little bit more of a differentiation and also to make it a little bit more exciting to look at. Also, I wanted to have a little area over here where people can spend a few minutes sitting down on some benches and just enjoying a little bit the view, and they can on this point they can just watch the coaster on the backside of this little plaza over here, and they can as well watch onto the other side of the lake, which is basically the entrance area, but there are also two spots where later on there can be built something more amazing. And I've no idea what the streamers are going to do. I've no idea if they will be put into challenges or so. But I left some spaces all over the park where people can actually build their things. So this is basically what the park looks like at the moment. And since I do have to do a few more commentaries today, I will stop this commentary right now, but you will at least have a few more minutes with the entrance building, which is also very much inspired by a building in Boston. You will really well recognize it if you're living there, or if you've been there already, or if you have maybe just watched some photos or search for some photos on Google. So that's it, guys. Hope you still enjoy, and make sure to check out the PAX times and the PAX stream schedule, which is again listed down in the description below. And also, as always, if you want to leave some feedback, don't hesitate to do so. I really much appreciate it, because it really helps me to improve, you know. I always try to improve stuff on YouTube and stuff on my channel, and I want to give you the content you are really most looking for, and I'm also excited for. And it's really a hard task to just find this kind of little spot where we do meet without knowing what you really want to see. So leave me some feedback, and we will see what we can do with it in the future. So thanks, guys, and hear you next time. Bye bye.